Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of Feminine Scope, a program where we discuss issues concerning women, celebrating their triumphs and seeking ways to solve their challenges. I am Amanda Ezekwe. Meaningful participation of women in national, local, and community leadership roles have become inevitable. When it comes to politics, women's political participation results to tangible gains in democracy, which includes greater responsiveness to the citizens' needs. A current statistic shows that there are only 381 women among the total 4,295 contestants for the presidential and the National Assembly in the coming polls. For the Senate, out of 1,101 candidates vying for 109 seats, only 92 are women, while 288 women are contesting for the House of Representatives out of a total of 3,122 candidates. Why is there a very low representation of women in politics, especially in Nigeria? What are the challenges confronting women in politics in Nigeria? These and many more will be our focus today on Feminine Scope. My guest for today is one of the very few female aspirants who is presently vying for a seat in the Federal House of Representatives. Please join us after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. There is established and growing evidence that women are least represented in the political sphere. Most countries, especially Nigeria, have not achieved this gender balance because of the least representation of women in politics. To discuss this with me on the program today is Barrister Juliet Isi Ikayari, a legal practitioner turned politician. In February 2022, she contested for a seat as a councillor to represent the people of Buari Area Council. She is presently vying for a seat in the Federal House of Representatives to represent Buari and Ama constituency. She is the principal partner of Macombs J Attorneys. Her interest revolves around advocacy, corporate practice, politics, youths, women, and child development. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Why politics? Were you an activist in school? Why did you delve into politics, being a young lady?
The honest truth is I've always loved to be an advocate for something good and to actually be a voice in my own generation. And that was what actually inspired me to go back to study law after reading linguistics in the university. And upon my graduation, my own interest had been to just keep practicing, be an advocate in the Temple of Justice. But politics had a way of finding me, just as all leadership positions before now just found me, and I'll always take the bull by the horn.
So you just walked into politics, or politics just found you?
Politics found me.
Okay, so now looking at the statistics of women representation in politics, Rwanda has the highest, followed by South Africa. Nigeria, being the giant of Africa, has like 8%. Why is that?
It's the example of Rwanda you gave. It's a country that I actually admired, but they had to go through the pains to get through to where they are today. And I think that's also something Nigeria cannot be, we cannot actually take similarities to, because we are a country of multi-diverse ethnic groups, cultures and all that, which affects us and our mindset. Because what I found in the issue of politics today is that women's low representation, it stems from a whole number of reasons. And but I think there are ways we can actually get on with it, just like what Rwanda have done, by actually their president insisting and other legislators insisting that there must be a particular number of women in the parliament. And that's what Nigeria needs to do. I think we were actually going that direction in the special seats bill, which was rejected. But there are other ways I think we can go about it through political parties, their ideologies, and insisting that tickets actually should be picked by women, and actually those seats won by women, those primary tickets won by women in some areas But you know, because of the diverse multicultural differences, you hear some people saying no, it's not their culture for women to lead. And then women who actually push through the hurdles and still try as much as possible to stay afloat, even with all these limitations, still find it challenging. I'll take myself for example. It's been a whole lot of hurdle along the way. And I think when we even, I think we've actually itemized one, the political party. But for mine, my own party, which I've actually grown into, because I tell people you don't just jump into parties, people are actually building. So you don't just expect that they will just pick you. You have to go there and be prepared, show your worth, your value. So like my own party, yes, there's room for women. But then again, how much has the women been able to accept more women into the political terrain? I think that's one issue we've not been able to address, and we don't know the reasons why. Because as a politician, I see that there's a whole lot more acceptance. I'm not saying women do not accept women, but there's a whole lot more acceptance from the men who are not even in positions, because these people are, they say politics is grassroots, but these people who are the grassroots don't hold big political positions. They are just, some of them are out on the streets doing their business, but they still help to amplify voices. Then when you now compare the same set of people in the other gender as the female in the streets, you hear questions that are not actually encouraging. Then you now ask yourself, so what then is the problem? Because these are the people who are going to vote. So we are not talking about gatekeep. We're not talking about men who hold bigger positions in political offices or positions giving women the leeway. But you're not talking about people on the street. There's a man, there's a woman in the market. And the man say, oh, may God help you, I encourage you. And there is a woman who say, you now go forget us, and so now they talk. Those kind of things, you now ask yourself, I thought this woman is already saying she's marginalized, or she is. So why is there no any welcoming approach towards your conversations? And because it's the conversations that makes the candidate even feel much comfortable to actually discuss with you and tell you about visions. And then the honest truth is, we've not still gotten there where we even know what we want as a people and as women in general. There are some women who know what they want, but there are few speaking in the midst of the multitude.
You mentioned something about cultural beliefs and all that. Are you
Yes.
saying that culture actually affects women? And, you know, with culture sometimes comes stigmatization. How does it play out in politics, especially among women?
You know, FCT, where I am actually, I've been vying for positions and from various levels, I will tell you that when we thought that it was more, because I ran for councillor and that was the least level when it comes to political office. And then you're talking about, you're seeing indigenous people here in the FCT who actually participate in that election. We also saw people who were also enlightened. But now the interests were, the people who had more interest for this political office were the indigenous people who feel FCT is their place, they have to actually be involved. And then there's another set of people who feel they are visitors. But then you ask yourself, the hospitals, the basic amenities are provided for A is also provided for B. And those that you yearn for should also be given to A and B, as long as you live in the FCT. So there's a very, and when we went back to that election, if I go back there, I see that the women do not actually, it has never been heard that some of them even vied for that position, especially those indigenous people. So you see, that was it was an obvious cultural bias. And we don't know if it's the men who are promoting it or the women who have accepted it and they will not change. They don't want to break through. And now it's not them running. It's another woman who is coming from some other place running. So you see, there's so much you ask yourself psychologically, what's the issue? Why don't they want to trust you? Why don't they want to trust their fellow woman? But then again, I told myself, okay, because we always give rooms for those people. Could be that because I'm not an indigene, a son of theirs who is also an indigene was running. So they had no choice because the women came out. Women came out for that election. The February 12, 2022, women came out to vote. So we cannot say women don't vote. They vote. But the truth is that they were actually voting for their own. And few numbers of these women came out, but we knew that we would have had a very vast number of votes if other persons who are more enlightened, who have accepted education and who understand levels of governance would have said, okay, let's give this woman a chance. But they were distracted from the issues, so I don't know why. And I tell women, you must not actually be loud in the room to discuss politics. It could just be like, okay, the right questions should be asked, but I don't think when you go to the grassroots, they even ask the right question. It will be, they will not even give you room, and there's a high distrust. So we don't even know if it's even cultural issues that are putting this women, making this women laid back, or it's more of a personal thing. So they are not asking you, what do you want to do differently for us? They're asking you, when you get there, you will do the same thing. They are attacking, then asking. And you ask yourself why. But they will show you so much love and admiration, but still yet they've not been able to grab the necessary things and qualities they should expect from their leaders.
That acceptance is not yet there.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned education. What role does education play in politics, especially in the grassroots? Because that's where challenges actually occur.
Absolutely.
You have to start from the grassroots.
Absolutely.
Before, going into the urban areas. So, as a woman, does education play a key role in politics when it comes to participation of the woman or playing a role in politics?
Yes, education will play, but I think the Nigerian leadership issues has greatly affected even the educated, that they are still politically uninformed. So you can go to school, you can go to school and still do not understand what political education is about. Because you hear people asking, do FCT have a House of Rep seat? Do they do local government election? And these are people who are very bright when you come to other aspects of life. But they are asking, that's to show you they do not know. There is no yearning to know. And they will tell you people have not told them. I'm like, people shouldn't tell you what you need to know about your environment. So even if I was not running, at least we should have been able to say, okay, these are the things that need to be fixed in our society. These are the elections that need to take place. So those basic things. So it's not about the education right now. I think it's more of, we should put emphasis on political education.
Okay.
And you don't learn that in the classroom.
In the classroom, okay. Why should a woman be involved in politics? Because most times women will tell you, oh, it's very violent, especially when they go for their campaigns. We cannot tolerate the kind of violence we see. How can women get into this and, like you said, be politically informed about what goes on during the campaign?
Exactly. Women can actually, they'll have a lot to benefit politically if they are actually involved, because everything that makes up a human being to make life worth living revolves around politics. All the policies, to the buying and selling, to the inflation, the economic and theories, policies, everything, the legal issues revolves around politics. If we talk about the issue of justice system, you need a leadership. And when we say leadership, there's something that even the FCT people mistake. They call leadership alone just the presidential seat. And I think that's where we've gotten it wrong over the years as a country. Because right now we're in a political era and everybody's just talking about the presidential seat alone, forgetting that if we continue to worship this executive so much, we now make the legislators look so little, and therefore the essence of the democracy cannot be practiced, the separation of power issue. And that's what we need to tackle, issues of ineptitude, corruption, and a whole lot. So when you now tell a woman this, if she basically understands that her life, everything that revolves around even her children, basic education, her health care center, because I think they even have so much sentiment toward the health, because we women, it's our own nature to actually be the bearer of life. So health alone actually touches them. So if they understand that good medical care, attention to the medical system, the administration, there's so much to be said why a woman needs to be involved in politics. And then there's also another misconception when they say involved in politics. She may not actually run for office. Everybody will not be leaders. If everybody was a leader in a country, then there will not be followership and will not have effective coordination. So you must not all be leaders. But the thing is that how best can we all channel our energy to developing or accepting great ideas and then allowing ourselves go? Because we know that we are the ones who say marriage and all. There are some people who, they may be widowed. Some may be single moms. Some may they just want to go that path. So why don't we accept those people and say, okay, represent us. We will demand this from you. Because there's also something that I don't understand. They do not even, I think women need to actually help to guide the thoughts of these female politicians.
True.
When you don't tell them, because nobody knows it all. Even as a lawyer, I will tell you, woe betide you to know all the law. We need guidance too. So where there is a lacuna, you help fill, you guide these women. Oh, and these are what you need. These are how you can be able to go about things. We need more of those women. So even if you're not running for office, you can be able to guide or shape the thoughts of a female leader, a female politician, and together we'll make the difference. I think that's where we need to go. So those are the reasons why women need to be politically involved, not necessarily running, but having the ideas of politics.
So what's the importance of gender equality in politics? Knowing that most times when there is a meeting, political meeting, do they actually take the advice of women when they stand up to talk? Because in some climes, we know that they'll tell you that a woman is relegated to the background, or she should be in the kitchen or in the home, which is almost in the past now. Do they accept decision from women, and what is the role of gender equality in a political setting?
You know, even those who are ministers are also in the political setting. And we've seen that a whole number of women have become political leaders, ministers, and also they're
By
also
appointment, not by election.
But they are also involved in the political setting, because even if they do not go by electoral process, they will also have a role to play. And as ministers, they are also playing roles in executive seats. I know, okay, even if we do not want to actually base much emphasis on those who have been appointed, but those who have been elected, I would not be able to say much of deputy governors, which are women. And then I would not also be able to say more of women in the House of Representatives, because we know we have had few numbers, but we need to document their experience too, and they need to actually tell us how much of their experience they can share about how much their ideas are accepted in the room. But I know there are ways to go about this, and we need more. That's why whenever I talk to people, I don't say it's just because of me. It could be because of you too, your own children. And then if we actually give them that listening ear, it makes the place more safer for them. So they know they said this, and when they come out to the public to give the press statement, they will be accepted. So I think followership too also matters. People need to also actually, they need to actually come for, it's a symbiotic thing. They need to actually speak, not fight, speak diplomatically, tactically, and then the people also need to give those women listening ears and also see if they are actually saying something that is worth listening to. I think so. We just have to, it's just symbiotic. So I know if the audience grows, we'll have a lot more women being heard, because I would not say they are not heard. I will not judge that, because I'm not in that room when they do the political meetings. And I would take myself for example, even if not being elected yet, as a political leader, because as a candidate, you're already taking the flag of a party. Mm-hmm. So many of us, even if they may not necessarily accept all, but you just see my way of doing things. You just have, it's tactical, and you see people just following through, that you just follow what you're doing. They're already accepting it, and even if they may have grudges about it, but you know what you want, and you're being able to employ those tactics that can bring the people's followership to you. So
it looks like the women have to really work extra hard in the political system. So what are the factors that affect women in politics?
For me, I would just say that when you say extra hard, I'm coming from a party that is not actually so known as the other big parties, but we're pushing through. So I won't say it's just a me thing as a woman. I think it's a party thing, because what I've been able to do has even been a lot much better than people who came before me.
Okay.
And I just employed my own strategy, personal strategies. And before you know, people are like, okay, this person has something worth listening to, and they're already coming, they're already clamoring towards the thoughts process. And I will not say I had to do extra hard. I think it was just more of employing tactical strategy, and it was more personal. I think it was more personal that actually gravitated people towards me. I wouldn't say, I don't know how much extra hard they have to do. And that's why I say we need more women to serve as role models, so they can take people through this process in party, because there's going to be party system is it's there's this what I'm trying to say, it's specific, there's specific requirements or specific situations applies to various parties. So I will not say one party actually is the same with another party, but pushing things extra hard, I feel I don't know. I wouldn't really.
You mentioned role models. Do
Yes.
women actually, as in the older women in politics, do they actually hold the hands of the younger women in politics?
I've not been able to see any hold mine. Maybe because we've not actually had a woman who has actually won House of Rep seat here in the FCT. I know, yes, they'll say we need to reach out to these people, but you know the bureaucracy around going to meet these people, it's something, and you don't want to be distracted. The journey is so much ahead, and you're already seeing so many people around you who they say the grassroots. So you will not want to bother much around running after those people who may not be visible per se. Because when I ran for councillor, there was no woman who had ever run for that seat. So there was no role model for that.
So why has attempt to get women into leadership positions failed?
I don't know. I keep saying this over the years. I feel, first of all, we can start from the market. Women are in the market. How can we make these women stop asking for pepper, Maggi, and tomato? To actually say, okay, we don't need to. But the thing is that I think there's a distrust among themselves, because that's what I see. When they want to support you, they'll be like, the other woman may tell the other parties that are coming that we are already following you. So it's fear. But can we break out of the fear? So now you see they are afraid of their lives. You see what happened in Kaduna State recently, the woman who was assassinated. There's a growing fear amongst the women that, oh, they will be the easier targets for those politicians. But I think if we can have the conversations that we have, people who are already there to protect them, their voices, and if they will be willing to trust, just like Esther said, if I perish, I perish. So can we have those women? I know it's fearful because a lot of them will not even want their kids to be in the political terrain. So you see, this whole thing, we can't continue like that. And these are the issues. They are just the reality. How then can we now channel these fears to positive energy? That we can now have this number of women. We can have 1,001 women in the market who have 4 adults, so male, female. Then that their 1 vote is bringing 5 votes. Their husband's votes too. And there's a way you go about this. Can we have conversations like that? They get the united voice and they say, no, if a woman is coming, she's sound, let's send her. I think that's what we need.
Can quota system work in this political time among women?
Oh, yes, it can. And then, that was what the extra seat bills were for, that in every constituency, there are women who actually will be given tickets across political parties. And for that constituency, there must be women who will be elected. So even if you're saying you're not going to, even if you're saying she must run for election, only women will run for that election. So that was what that bill was for then. If we can actually implement it, and then if we can actually pass that bill, because it was rejected, so it wasn't passed. If we can actually pass the bill and it's assented to, I think it will be the right step in the right direction. All the political parties can actually have a quota system across their constituencies, local government levels, and say, okay, we have decided that this is what will be. And it must be across parties, because so we don't have other political parties still fielding out men, and then you still see this women and men running after those men, because not just men vote for men, women also vote for men.
Of course, a lot of women vote for men.
Those are the issues.
But how can the problem of representation be solved?
That's from the women angle.
Yes, from the women angle.
Women having
the least representation of women in politics. What do you think can be done to increase the number of women going into politics?
Okay. I will use myself, because I started very early, and the challenges that has been that has limited women affects me too, but by the virtue of the fact that we are here, I think it's an avenue to actually be that voice, to empower more women to come. And so the practical reality is, from the party level, yes, if I will use myself as an example, can actually encourage more women, which we've been doing, it must not necessarily be with money, because I tell people money is not everything, because if it's money, we won't be here. Our voices won't be heard. So if we can actually come close, start from the ward level in political parties, identify the parties that are willing to accommodate women. Then we start driving conversations from the young girls who are actually enlightened. So even if their moms are not willing to change, they would actually be the influencers, because they are now more social. They've accepted the media age. They can now be able to break through the norms, because we don't have much young girls association in markets. It's now more of the older women. So now we have to come down to my generation who will be willing to listen. And it has been happening. I've been seeing a whole lot of them. But the truth is that because of the economic hardship, most of them will say, oh, they need to continue to go to the party office, go to keep building meetings and all. But they are step-by-step process. Rome wasn't built in a day. If you can start small, those little 500 naira, you use it to go for your ward level meetings, start building sensible conversation. But they need somebody who will stand in the gap. And I'm willing to encourage young girls, to tell them how it's done, give them more political education, that there is no brainer. It's something that can be done. And that is my story. That was how I started. So you go for meetings and then have more close friends. So in those your political, but the thing is that they have to be willing, because a woman will be willing, the other 10 women may not be willing. So they have to open their minds to accept that we are not agitating forcefully, but as a matter of the wants, our needs has to be met, and we can't continue this way. So the only best way is to have conversations and be willing to take the path. It won't be given to you. As we've seen, it was clearly rejected. So we have to take the path. So 10 women, polling unit meetings, from there identify parties. And I will always tell them, the party ADC is willing. So if you're looking for parties, because I will not talk about other parties, I don't know their ideologies, is willing to accept. And because we've been able to bring value to the table, my voice is valuable in my party. So come in, let's start building from the polling unit level, ward level. We start there, because polling is essential, because election day you need these agents. Then the ward level, the local government level, the state level, and then the agitation for power has to be thrown away. You don't have to start fighting for power, because that's where the enemies will now want to sow seed of discord. Oh, you women have started again, you're already fighting yourself. But it's not just a women thing, but you can actually bring more men, because I've seen a whole lot of men are more accepting of women. They've actually shared our values. They understand what our ideas, our ideals. They know what we want, so they can also come in, build decent. And what affects women, funny enough, affects youth. It also affects youth. It's the funny truth. Anybody who feels marginalized is because there is a lack of unity amongst themselves. That's the basic truth. People who fought racism and all that, they had to come together to fight against it. You can't do it in isolation. And that's why whenever I go out there, I tell people, it's a lonely road for me. We need people. And the fact that we've stepped out, we are willing to embrace more. So let's build from there. Come into the party, pay. If you use 500, you start building from there. It's practical. And then no much agitation against who must be leader. Just have ideas, and before you know it, we'll be able to grow from there. As youth, it's very necessary, because we can't continue like this.
Well, we definitely have a lot we're going to discuss, but when we come back after the break, we'll do that.
Thank you.
We've been discussing the role of women in politics. We'll be going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll still talk about how young girls can be involved in politics. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, And if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite. This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television Star Times Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back. Before we went on a short break, we were discussing about the role of women in politics, and we still have our guest in the studio, Barrister Juliet Isi Ikeri. We're back, ma'am. Before we went on a short break, we were talking about the role of women, but I want you to, for any young girl who is interested in going into politics, like the stages where she can get into and go through the ranks.
Okay. It's practical in the sense that you identify a party that actually accommodates your needs and actually sees through what the youth yearn for. So because there's one thing there's one thing about people talking but not passing the right messages and another. So you identify that party, then you become a member. You actually, tell people it's not good to actually come alone. So you need to have a lot more or a few minds like you, because politicking is about lobbying interest. So it has to be a shared idea. So you don't be the lone voice, because sometimes a lot of them get frustrated being alone and then they don't want to do certain things. It's not morally right for them. So you have to come with a number of people who actually share your ideas, and then identify somebody who can be a mentor to you and who has actually gone through that path. Because sometimes people have sound ideologies, but walking the path, so you identify them, then you get involved with political meetings. It can be fixed for a time that is convenient for you, because we already understand that Nigeria today, nobody waits for the civil service job. You go out there, you do your business, or you get something to do if you're in private sector, the public, or your personal business. You look for a time convenient for you all as young people, because I do not want to actually say, I think we need the men too. So young people, men, women, come together, have meetings, start building ward level structure. And this will also prevent this issue of thuggery. Because now we are working in spaces, a lot of people are talking, but there's no united frontier, no leadership. Like the always say, the youth have no leader. So when you now identify a political party and then you start talking, it's not always about money, I say, because we always make things about money. It could be a shared contribution. We saw what happened in 2008, Obama's election, the contribution, and I was even told 3 Nigerians came to do the crowdfunding, brought the idea. Until today, they still crowdfund for the Democratic Party. So it could just be, we've already started, the youth have already started the issue of crowdfunding. They brought it to limelight. And in fact, even the older ones are now making use of the crowdfunding thing. So you can crowdfund ₦1, use it for party, sit-out, discussion, and then, your party start identifying you people. From there, you actually choose who can be a councillor, because that's the least level. A 25-year-old can be a councillor. But the truth of the matter is, it will only work in places like FCT when it comes to electoral conducting elections for such offices like local government, because Nigeria as it is today, in various states of the country, do not conduct local government election, and it's so sad. So I would actually give a practical situation for FCT. So for the councillorship, they can actually be amongst themselves, select who wants to be a councillor, go around, help to campaign and all that, and then also rise to the issue, the other ward levels, build it, then it can actually then form local government chairman, chairwomen and all of that. And then it rises from there. Come general elections, they can actually be fixing their own governorship because now their voice have grown. They've been able to do certain things. Because I tell people, when you go about putting NGOs together, it doesn't formulate to anything, because it's more of like a personal thing. But when you actually understand these basics, and the funny thing about elections in our constitution, it clearly prevents associations from participating in politics. So you doing your politics, your NGO, it doesn't actually translate to you actually getting that office. But when we do it practically, by saying, okay, we're leaving out the politics of NGO, we're not talking about who is going to feed who, or we're actually saying, as youths, we are actually going to do this for community service and not about NGO. Because when it comes to NGO, you cannot do politics anymore. You go about, so people are now saying, oh, this youth group, they've done this, and the women to accepting, start teaching basic teachings to women of this. You can just be going to the market, telling them these basic things, and they'll start having the ideology. Because Nigeria has this distrust for political parties. They feel all politicians are evil, and then I tell them, how then do you make your leaders if you're already shunning all politicians? So there has to now be another unlearning and relearning that politics is a necessity for our growth as a nation.
Has there been any time you wanted to give up and just leave politics?
A lot of times. I will be sincere, especially moments whereby I would want that the right questions are asked and I don't get it. All I'm hearing is money. I'm like, what's the way forward for your own kids? Because it's not about me anymore. For me, it was more of like, come in, Juliet, come sell your ideas, come actually let people hear your voice. And that's what's happening. So when I go out there and I see that a lot more people, in fact, the gender in which are the ones saying, if you don't give me money, I know they answer you, it breaks my heart. But the honest truth is, whenever I hear you're doing good, we support you, we are with you, it encourages me, aside the God factor, because I'm somebody who actually gets most of my strength from my God, my inspiration, the spiritual aspect. But whenever I hear people encourage me, it actually makes me pick up from where I was, and then I just go forward. But times I feel the whole sentiment and the lack of wanting to just continue. But I'm like, okay, the strength is there. Let's keep pushing. Somebody wants to actually participate, and who knows?
We know that most political meetings are held late at night. How do you cope with that, being a young lady?
The honest truth is, the political meetings, I think maybe because we've not actually had major offices yet as a party, because most of our meetings are usually in the afternoons on Saturdays, Sundays, and I think the meetings for now during the campaign seasons for this same grassroots, no woman will leave her cooking and come in the middle of the night to come and listen to your political. Maybe we said grassroots. Yeah, grassroots, it's in the afternoon. So those ones who go in the middle of the night, maybe then it's now political appointments, then maybe their appointments, or those who have actually now at the, I think the grandmasters in the politics, because like I said, we are still coming up. And I hope that there will be a time whereby we can have meetings, even if not at odd hours, but at a secluded place, discussing ideas. It must not necessarily be in the night. As long as everybody are discussing what would push the nation forward, it must not necessarily be in the night. So I've not really had those moments, although political engagements, if not necessarily meetings, can span through the night. Because right now you see, when you paste posters around, you want to actually engage in such activities in the night, not during the daytime. So such kind of things can actually affect. And it's also a reality that political engagements can be in the night too.
How can women increase their numbers? Especially knowing that we have lots of men vying for seats too, more than the women. Do we have a voice at all?
Not in its entirety, but we can. There are a whole lot of women running now across various seats in the country, across various states. They are not in their large numbers, but the honest truth is, I think We just need to actually do it through the parties or a law to increase in numbers, because this issue of ideologies that I have been saying so far, it will only come to play where we all have it. And I don't know when we will have that same ideology as people to actually put in more women. But we can enforce it through political parties and then through the laws. I think those are the practical ways to just get them in quickly as possible, like Rwanda.
In the political setting, is there sexual harassment?
Uh, you see, yes, there could be, but I just feel I have no room for that, because I feel when the conversation starts going through to that, I'm somebody who will just tell you as it is, because I came into politics with a whole lot of value. I already understand that politics or no politics, I am a legal practitioner. Politics or no politics, I'm a farmer. So there is no juicy opportunity you are going to offer me that will make me lose my integrity. So already there is a value on the table. And so you are not actually telling me to do this or I get this, because already I know I come with value. So it's if it's not something I'm okay with, I will just walk out, because we are actually wanting the audience of people. And if these people's audience are not actually gotten, so why do things that at the end of the day you will look at yourself and regret? So for me, it's all about people followership. And until I achieve that, then I know I've actually succeeded. Any other thing that is in trying to put as a condition, it's something I don't see it sitting well with me, and I encourage other young women not to. It's not worth it, because at the end of the day, your integrity matters. We've seen a whole lot of people tarnish a lot of people's image. So what? And as a lawyer, I don't think it's something I would want to ever trade for political aggrandizement or anything, because we brought something to the table before politics came to call us.
Exactly, because sometimes we find out that some women don't get to a particular position they want because they have refused to give in. Being a lawyer, how can you advise these women to handle it? You've given us your own personal take on it. But generally, as a lawyer and being into politics, seeing some of these things happen, what advice would you give a young lady who is into politics and facing the same challenge we just talked about?
Okay, I would say identify women who are in higher positions and who would actually accommodate you talking to them, because we need to create safe space for each other, so that you will not be the only one crying in the room, the loner. More women need to just shoulder a lot of more women, tell them it's okay, and then give them that voice, because sometimes they may want to be saying something and no one is listening. So that's one thing. Also, identifying organizations that can pursue this rights. But you know how the justice system is, and I keep saying it, everything revolves around politics. If we have good leaders, our justice system will be efficient. And that's what I tell people. The social justice issue we have today, not being able to tackle the issue of sexual harassment across politics, corporate life, is because we've not been able to have political leaders who are going to implement effective system of judiciary, because it's tied to each leader. So get organizations so that they can actually help you talk about your issues. And then, like I said, just those two. And then when do you get those organizations, they will actually pursue the matters to the courts.
Being a lawyer that is into advocacy, you've always wanted to fight for people's rights, with, that was part of why I went to study law.
Yes.
Why did you now go into politics? Is it not the same thing you can do with law, getting it legally? That is the same thing you can do with politics.
Okay. Just like Obama, he is a lawyer, and the thing about law is that it gives you more knowledge about everything related to governance. And there is no way we can have the right justice system without being into governance. However it may come, you do not lose your license as a legal practitioner. So you go in, you come out, you're always a lawyer. It's a skill. It's a skill that can never be taken away from you. So I'm still a lawyer, and I will say this, the truth of the matter is the basic knowledge and the practical knowledge I have about law has helped me excel far above my expectations in politics.
So you're enjoying politics?
Oh yes, it's as if I'm practicing the law in politics, because when I talk, I add the law. There's so much legality in every of my statement, and I'm very conscious of my words.
Aside politics and law, you mentioned being a farmer.
Yes.
How does that work for you, especially in the grassroots?
Okay, it's actually very cool for me, because for me, I use it as more of a recreation, because I actually enjoy taking care of fishes. The fishes, I love seeing them grow. So while doing that, it actually gives me the ample opportunity to learn how the nature of animals, and also see how we can also reproduce to get them into the business sector, getting ends meet from them, the foiling, because I tell people politics is not cheap. Going around, because now people more engagements, more meetings. So even if you cannot actually buy those necessities they are asking for, you need to move. And our voice we've not gotten to the peak, and so you need to actually invest. So this is an investment process. You don't not necessarily throwing your money away. You have to be prudent. So the fish farming has been able to give me that opportunity to buy those foil, not necessarily need to be at the beck and call of anyone. As just take the process easy as it goes, slowly but surely. So it just keeps me abreast with the whole political needs that are basic for me, and so it's been actually good. And as a lawyer, we're allowed to farm.
Yeah. Do you think the men has been extremely supportive to women who are in politics, especially for those vying for positions?
I would not take away the men's credit. It's most times when we are out on the streets, pasting posters, and then we walk up to them, very calm, very diplomatic, because I know why I'm saying diplomacy in everything is what, Nigerians did not understand the essence of mediation until we started saying we're out of court, let's go for mediation. It's all about diplomatic discussions. So when you engage people diplomatically, there's a way they will come towards you. And so when I employ this in politics, as a lawyer, I'm also an arbitrator and a mediator. I employ it, and I see that there's this calmness. A lot of people call it grace. But I also say we need to now start exploring these options when you talk to people in the streets. Because we say these men, some of them form the majority part of the thugs, but we just have to employ the right manner of speaking in order to get a decent environment. Because while we're trying to shape society, there are certain things we need to actually use wisdom to direct us. So they've actually been a lot more peaceful. They've actually, oh yes, you're good. They even listen. They're even more patient. They want to hear you, because already the way I talk, the way I dress, there's this approach. You don't give me the approach of being nasty. Some try to, but immediately I will just walk away, because we're not begging you for anything. I tell people my political journey is no more of, I'm not desperate to beg you, because when desperation sets in, you now become ridiculed. So there's no desperation, it's just tactical. And the conversations tells you that with or without me, the society will be the way it is. It's a sacrificial thing. And when we get that, we all will now play our role of sacrifice. So they've actually been very endearing. They've actually been accommodative. Yes, that's the word. I think for me here in the FCT, being mixed with urban and rural settings, enlightening people from all over Nigeria. In fact, most of them are in awe, like, a young lady, how do you manage to go about? Oh, well done. And they've been also supportive, I won't lie.
So what's your take about the relegation of women to the background, and once it's campaign time, they come out looking for the women, especially the market women? Whether we like it or not, the market women has a very strong hold on the political system in this country.
True.
So how can this stop, if it's going to stop? And how can the women put their foot, on the ground and tell them, like, this is what we want, knowing that they have the power to do so at that time?
Okay, when we talked about this earlier, I said something about we have identified their issues, and one is distrust amongst themselves. One woman is asking the other, have you collected money? Why are you supporting this candidate? Because I've seen a lot of women say, young lady, we admire you and want to support you. But she's scared, even if she's a leader, she's scared that the other woman would tell her, you've collected money from this young girl, so why are you effortlessly supporting her? We are not with you. There's something, so there's a distrust. So the only thing I would just say is, until we have this selflessness, love for nation, and we'll take the next woman as a mirror of ourselves and see that not supporting her doesn't change who you are today. Not supporting her doesn't change who you are, because you've said you have been relegated as a woman in the market. They only come during election. So why don't you actually, instead of throwing stones at her, come together and support her? So when we have this ideology, and then ask her certain things she needs to do, because you hear them saying we've sent women before, but that's not true. In FCT, I will tell you, no woman has ever been the House of Reps. No woman has ever been the senator. No woman in there, for instance, Kubwa has ever been the councillor of Kubwa ward, but we have for people places like Wushofa, I think, Dusi. But in the house today, I don't think there's a woman in the Buhari area council as a councillor. If maybe one, but that is nothing. So who have you supported? So why peddling these lies to satisfy your selfish interests? So that's it. We just need to come to that basic ideology that we need to be selfless, reject, shun the money, and then seek for ways we can talk about letting more women in. Have the conversation. Don't be scared about it. Have it. It does us no harm, but better than it does us good, because every finger want to be on her. A lot more, and they may want to also set traps for that woman. But when you have the conversations and you're willing to support her, it makes the traps not to be easy for her to fall into, because she knows she has a backup on you all as mothers, as sisters, and as friends.
Irrespective of the political parties, women that are in politics, especially the older women, how do you think they can support the younger ones? How can they hold their hands? You're a young lady. What do you need from the older women in politics?
Okay, first and foremost, I need the guidance, because there's always a part of the elders that the young ones like us will not be able to know. So we want their guidance. That's when I said the issue of, aside, even because it's not all about money, and the election day we don't even employ people selling their votes. We just want you to hold your hands together, come to the polls and vote. And then now the guidance aspect is the fact that you are already with telling her how she needs to go about these things. It's just like when people are in certain groups, some men are in groups, they tell you this is the modus operandi in this terrain. There are certain things you will not be able to do here. We want more women showing that leeway on how to go about. How do you appease the women? How do you make room for women? It's not just about telling her to come and buy. We should even know the functions of our office, so that she doesn't end up going to go and still get implicated just to please your wants that are not founded on laws. Because right now, where they actually get a woman is on the aspect that you didn't do this in the right way. So we need the guidance, we need actually the support, and we need the practical reality of getting your PVCs, going to the polls and voting. And then and when we do this, we're actually encouraging our own daughters to actually feel free to participate. So I think that's just the practical way, because most of the market women, they are old enough to be my moms. I tell them very practically, I say, how many of your 28 years old can actually run? And they'll tell me, no one, none. So why then do you expect certain unachievable benefits from me in terms of monetary value, provisions, and all that?
Talking about daughters, like generally the girl child, a young girl watching you now and talking about politics and all that, what advice would you give her if she decides she wants to come into politics, what would you tell her? What challenges should she expect?
Okay, one is that come prepared with value. Be responsible enough to say you have a skill, because it may not necessarily be a profession like me. It could be that you have a skill. So be it as it may, you know that when it gets tough, you can be able to take care of yourself, your basic needs, so you don't end up ruffling up your colors in the water because you just want to please some certain people. So come with value, come with a skill, come with something that you know you can, politics or no politics, you'll be able to stand firm on your word. Then identify people that can be able to offer guidance to you, and we are here. There are ways to reach out through the media lines. I may not be able to satisfy all, but we'll be able to offer that safe space to talk and then identify parties, and then identify a political party. See, like I said, find mentors, come with value, identify political parties, and that's it. Just do your best, research more, because you have to come with knowledge. Aside the skill, you have to come with knowledge, so that at the end of the day, it won't be like you're being done a favor. It won't be like you're just giving women. You have now everybody's saying competence, credible, capacity. Okay, come with the three C's, so that you will be almost it will seem like you're almost indispensable.
You know, some men wouldn't want their wives or partners to go into politics, knowing how the terrain is. What would you have to say to that?
That's also another thing. It's very evident. But there are still some women who, in the meantime, while also finding the right spouse, or trying to find a balance for advocacy, because I hear a lot of women, I want to do something in my world. You are needed in politics too. So you may not actually be the leader, but I know, yes, the money factor makes them run away. They say they cannot be giving themselves for politics, but you could do it as a side career. You're getting your day-to-day activities going, but you're also politically informed, and you also identify with the party. So it doesn't look like a day-to-day activity. So you're living your life basically wanting those monies from political leaders that will share to buy us, since we are now saying shun vote buy, which is the truth. So that's just it. That's just it.
So what's your take on the 35% affirmation?
I think it's necessary. It's necessary for the growth of women. It's necessary for development. It's also necessary for women to have more confidence in themselves and trust for each other. So there's so much that needs to be achieved when we effect the 35%, because now more women know that more women are necessary for nation building, and they will be able to identify and see how they can solve those issues that women are yearning about.
So finally, what are your words to people during this political era? Because we are moving into the elections. So what do you have to tell people who should be voting?
It's first of all, we have barely today is almost gone. We have 2 days to the end of collection of PVC. It's a short period. I don't know how we'll do the magic, but so many uncollected PVC. So please collect your PVC. It's the first rule. I tell people, in as much as we are agitating for why only polling unit voting, that specific polling unit voting, you do not change a constitution from outside. You have to get leaders that have that thought to be able to get in. So it's a systematic thing, and we failed over the years by not having our needs put out there. Only few months to election and you're already crying that you want this, you want that. It doesn't work that way. So get your PVCs. Feel free to go and vote. While you know that you are angry that it's not, you cannot vote anywhere, just go and vote. That's the first thing. And then when you go for voting, I appreciate, do not be agitated or very arrogant about people, or wanting to be violent about people's opinion. Allow people to air their opinion. Don't be loud about things. Vote peacefully. Monitor the beavers. It must show a particular zero, so that there will not be any cheating and rigging. Also watch your environment. identify polling units that also have securities to actually protect women and protect youth and protect the people, elderly, and also people with disabilities, because so they are also at risk. So everyone needs to be protected. So identify polling unit with security. If there are no securities, alert the nearby security that they should actually put securities at polling units, because some areas do not have security as regards to my last election. So, and then monitor the counting. Raise an alarm when you see people are trying to go close to the ballot papers and induce voters through money politics and all that. And then see that the results are entered at the polling units, which there is also another issue of, they said if you don't see network, follow the youth corpus to a point where there's network so the results can be transmitted. There's a whole lot of discrepancies when it comes to the election, but let's do our part. And so we can have experience, because experience is key. It's wealth of knowledge that when we have it, we'll be able to now help shape the process. So come out on the election, they vote wisely and vote peacefully.
We sincerely appreciate you for taking our time to be with us today.
Thank you.
And I would like to say good luck to you as you go to the polls to cast your votes.
Thank you.
Our guest has been Barrister Juliet Isi Ikaeri, a legal practitioner turned politician. In February 2022, she contested for a seat as a councillor to represent the people of Bari Area Council. She's presently vying for a seat in the Federal House of Representatives to represent Bari Amak constituency. She's the principal partner of Macom's J Attorneys. Her interests revolves around advocacy, corporate practice, politics, youth, women, and child development. Women's participation in politics helps to really push forward gender equality. Records have also shown that as more women are elected into office, there is also an increase in policy making that emphasizes quality of life and reflects the priorities of families and women. Women engagement is crucial. Depending on whether women are younger or older, educated or uneducated, live in the urban or rural areas, they have very different experience in life. Balanced political participation and power sharing between women and men in decision making should be fully encouraged in Nigeria. This will break barriers and help the society to develop and guarantee good governance. Well, that's how far we can go on the program today. Until next week. Bye-bye.